Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic week like I am here in Australia. Look, I know there's lots of stuff going on politically around the world and a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East, but let's sort of sidestep all that and let's just have a fantastic show and focus on us for a change, focus on where you're heading and what you want out of life at the moment. And, hopefully that with all the shows that are presented here on A1R Psychic Radio, that you're learning something, that we're here to entertain, but we're also here to teach and share with you our skills and our knowledge and the wisdom that we've amassed over the years of working in this amazing industry of helping people understand themselves better and hopefully make their little personal world a little bit of a better place. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Justice card. Now, this is one of these very ambiguous sort of cards. It is a major arcana card. And a lot of my students used to say, oh, I'm not going to court. That was their first interpretation when they'd see the Justice card. Well, yes, the Justice card can mean a legal situation, document, police, or finding out the truth in the matter affecting the balance. So it's more usually about finding the truth in a situation. We all have situations or issues in our lives that from time to time that we need to sort of try and find a balance. It's like we sort of, weigh it up. We weigh it up very carefully. That's what, the Justice card is about having the scales there of weighing the situation up. It's not always about a legal situation. Hopefully most of us aren't facing anything sort of legal. And if you do, it's not a constant thing in your life. It's a once in a blue moon sort of situation. Hopefully you're not looking to sort of involve yourself with the police in any way. So it's usually about getting to the truth and finding balance in your life and being able to weigh everything up very, very carefully and then proceed forward. So if this card comes out in a reading for you and you don't quite know how to interpret it, then look at what's going on in the reading. Look at what's going on in your life. Is there something there that needs to be weighed up very carefully? Are you seeking the truth? Are you trying to bring balance back into your life after maybe a precarious or a difficult situation or something that's just been going on for a long time? Well, this is the card that will say that we're getting to the bottom of the issue. We're getting to the point where we can have a turning point. We can slowly start to make our way forward again. And this is a really important thing because a lot of times in our lives, issues drag on for a very, very long time. They're not just resolved in a matter of hours or days or even weeks. Sometimes they can go on for years. And when you see this card come out in a reading with something like that that's been dragging on forever, know that you're getting very close to the conclusion, that everything is starting to come into balance. You've found out everything that you need to know. Now it's just a matter of working through that process and allowing the process to work for you, which is really, really important. So this week, astrologically, it's a really nice time to me for be able to say that we've got a little bit of movement in the planets. They're not just all sort of bunched up together as they have been for such a long time. Now we're starting to see that, the planets are starting to dance around the zodiac a little bit more. And it's happy birthday to all the Cancers. It's a really nice time of the year to be a Cancerian. I think a lot of people underplay the power of a Cancer. A Cancer can seem very gentle and soft and caring and be very maternal and, really conscious of what's going on in the world and conscious of what's going on in their little world and wanting to make everything right. But don't underestimate the power of a Cancer. The Cancer is the crab, and yes, they can be soft and gooey and gentle, but they can also be rock hard like their exterior shell too. And when the chips are down, you can really rely on a Cancer because they really do bring that strength to the table. They might have a gentle way of approaching it or seemingly going sideways to go forward. But when the chips are down, they are there. They're rock solid. They're by your side. They're there to help. So it's happy birthday to all the Cancers. It's only the first few days of the sun being in Cancer. So it's a really interesting time for Cancers. Not just is it your birthday time of the year, but we also have Jupiter, the planet of opportunity and expansion and luck, is actually conjunct or holding hands the sun in Cancer at the moment. They're both sitting at 3 degrees. So it's really, really interesting because Jupiter's just a tiny bit ahead of the sun by a matter of seconds. And it's a really what's known as a tight conjunction. A conjunction is when they're holding hands, and we allow up to about a 7 degree space, if you want to call that, or an orb. And at the moment, this is very tight. It's only a matter of seconds apart. So it's a really golden opportunity. So if you are a Cancer and you're looking to bring about change in your life, now is the time to put your best foot forward. There could be some really amazing opportunities coming towards you, amazing things that could be happening. Maybe you get a promotion with your work, or maybe you're moving home, or something that you've longed for a very, very long time. This is your time to shine. This next 12 months is when things are going to happen that seem like they've come out of nowhere, but they haven't come out of nowhere because you've worked very, very diligently for these things to happen. And sort of, you've been working behind the scenes to make your life better. And it's now your time to shine. It's now your time to have a little bit of expansion and opportunity in your life. We also have the part of fortune, which is not a planet, I must say. It's an Arabian part, which is conjunct or holding hands the moon. Now, because the moon moves so quickly and it can move, in 2.5 days from one sign to another, even though this is an important conjunction for Geminis in particular, it is also a conjunction that is also affecting the other air signs, which is Libra, Aquarius, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So it's a brief sort of situation. 24, 48 hours is about the maximum of this that we're going to see. Probably closer to 24 to 36 hours is about it. And we're probably already, a good 8 to 12 hours into this. So we're looking in the fact that we're asking people to sort of really understand their emotions at the moment. The part of fortune here is not bringing a fortune of money. It's bringing a fortune of information, or a knowing, or an understanding, or working with your emotions, and sort of asking you to be a little bit flexible, be a little bit changeable, because it is in Gemini. It's not set in concrete. It's sort of saying, oh, I've got this brilliant idea, I've got that brilliant idea. It's a different way of maybe processing or working with your emotions if you come under those 4 signs that I mentioned. For the rest of us, it's just going to wash over very sort of gently. You might get a couple of light bulb moments on an emotional front, and they're here 1 minute and gone the next. And that's okay. If you retain them, you're meant to. If you don't, it was just sort of like a slideshow of your emotional mind working through issues, and we weren't necessarily meant to stop and pull it up. So we also have Mercury, the planet of communication, is also sitting in Cancer. Now, this is going to affect the water signs, which is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and the opposite sign of Capricorn. Now, with Mercury here, it might seem like Mercury is trying to be a little bit hard-hitting. He's not necessarily trying to be hard-hitting. What he's trying to do here is say to Cancerians, speak up. Speak your mind, get everything off your chest. If you've got something to say, now is the time to say it, because in another week or so, it's going to move into Leo, and you'll have missed those golden opportunities. It's a time to stand up and be counted. Now, Cancerians sort of might, be governed by their feelings and their emotions, and they need to feel very secure before they move forward in decision making. But here's your opportunity that, those things that have been swimming around in your mind, the decisions that you've made, or the conversations you've had in your head that you need to have with another person. Now is the time to speak up and have those conversations with great gusto and determination, and sort of say, no, hang on a minute, I haven't finished speaking yet. Let me finish. Let me tell you the whole story. Let me get off my chest everything I need to say. Then we can open it up for discussion. So be firm if you're a Cancer and you need to have that sort of discussion on one of the water signs that I mentioned. It's time now to sort of, stand up and be counted and say, this is what I need to say. I've been thinking about it a long time. I've analysed it a lot. This is my final conclusion, or this is what I need to say. And interestingly enough, people will really take notice of what you've got to say, because they're listening with great intent, because they've never really sort of seen this side of you where you're composed, but you're very, very articulate in the way that you're delivering what needs to be said. And it's sort of almost mesmerizing. It's as if they're spellbound by listening to what you've got to say and watching your facial expressions and watching your great determination in saying, well, this is what's been on my mind for a long time and I need to now express it. So it's a good time, no matter whether it's a good or a bad conversation. And sometimes we've got to have tricky conversations with people about their behavior or whatever. Well, now is the perfect time, if you're a water sign, particularly a Cancer, to get this off your chest. We have Venus, the planet of love and affection, is sitting in Taurus. Now, Venus has been sitting here for a little while. Venus actually rules Taurus, so it feels very, very much at home here. It feels very comfortable being back in its own sign, bringing, washing over the Taurian energy, sort of saying, oh, gee, wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit more luxury or a little bit more comfort at the moment? And I know a lot of Tauruses at the moment have been very, very tempted to go shopping at the half yearly sales and things like this and sort of looking for a bargain. Look, I'm not going to dissuade you from doing that. I'm just going to say make sure that you really need it, because with Venus here in Taurus, you could sort of be a little bit swayed by the sales patter, or, you walk into a showroom and you sit on a comfy couch and you think, oh, that feels good. I think I'll have to take that home. And then you get out of there and you have a little bit of buyer's remorse and you walk in at home and you think, well, there's nothing really wrong with my couch. Why did I buy another one? Oh, well, I bought it anyway. And then you go into a little bit of buyer's remorse, because Tauruses don't like to spend money unless it's absolutely necessary. So I'm going to say to you, if if you're going window shopping, or you're going out and you're not really specifically going to buy something, and you are a Taurus, or particularly an earth sign, which is Virgo, Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio, then maybe leave your credit card at home. Maybe go home, think about it, analyze it, look at it. Do I really need that couch? Or was it just one of those aha moments? I sat on the couch and it felt so snuggly and comfortable that I thought I might like it. So, if you still feel the same way tomorrow or the next day, then you can always go back and buy the couch. That's what I'm saying. Don't just buy something on an impulse and then regret it, because then you're not going to be happy with the fact that you've spent or invested this money on a purchase that wasn't really necessary. We still have Uranus, the planet of the unusual and the unexpected, sitting in Taurus, so again affecting the earth signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. So, Uranus has been here for some time now, and Uranus has been slowly working through, and every now and then he strikes with that bolt of lightning and says, well, I gave you enough time, you didn't sort that out, bang, here's the results, here's the outcome. Let's not just wait for Uranus to strike like the bolt of lightning. Why don't you go through your life, look at the things that maybe need changing, the things that are irritating you, the things that have been sitting there and sort of, biting at your heels for some time now, and take control. Be the one to make the changes, be the one to make the decisions. Don't wait for Uranus to come along and say, well, I've given you enough time, you didn't act, bang, this is the result, because it may not turn out to be the way that you had hoped or you had anticipated, but yet you've let that opportunity slip through your fingers, where Uranus says, I can't wait anymore. We have to strike. We have to do something. So we're going to wrap up the astrology this week with two planets that have just moved out of Pisces into Aries, and they're going to be there. Saturn will be there for 12 months. Neptune will be there for a much longer stretch. But it's really, really interesting, because my inbox has been full this week with a lot of Aries people saying, what on earth is going on? I feel as if I'm drowning. I feel as if I've got, two lead boots on my feet and I'm in a swimming pool and I'm touching the bottom. I'm not coming up for air. This is not an uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable, and yes, this is not an unusual energy to feel as Saturn enters your sign. Now, Saturn stays in a sign for approximately about 2 years, a bit over 2 years, 2.25 years probably. Neptune will be there for much longer, but the two of them are conjunct or holding hands at the moment. So Saturn is coming in. He's waving the big stick, because he is the planet of discipline. He's like the taskmaster, and he says, okay, right, we're going to get this sorted out once and for all. We're going to start sort of making you save money, do this, do that, do. And all of a sudden the Aries says, I don't like being told what to do. I don't do jobs and instructions very well when someone else is waving a big stick telling me what I'm going to do. So then you try and bring in Neptune here, and you try and find a creative way or a creative solution to the situation. And all that you're seeing is sort of, oh my goodness, I'm walking into a fog. I can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, believe me, it will happen. You will see the light at the end of the tunnel. But the quicker you can learn to work with Saturn and say, okay, what is Saturn trying to teach me? What is Saturn trying to say to me? Is he saying to me, I'm spending too much money, I need to pull my reins in on my spending? Do I need to sort of look at my budgeting? Do I need to look at other ways that maybe I can save money? Is it time to sort of look at my whole life? And Saturn might feel a little bit negative here, or a little bit, oh, woe is me. It's not always meant to be that way. It's got to grab your attention. Saturn's got to come in and shake you loose a little bit and grab your attention and say, listen, this is what needs to change. You've got to start making some very, very serious decisions. You've got to bring in that Aries energy of that me first, and I'm the pioneer and I'm the one that's going forward. But at the same time, you've got to stop being so feeling sorry for yourself and sort of allowing yourself to say, oh, well, I can deal with that next week or next month or whatever. No, those times have now expired. It's now time to move forward. And once you start to harness and work with the energy, you can actually work very comfortably with Saturn and Neptune together, because Saturn will bring the structure and the discipline, and Neptune will bring the creative solutions if you allow it, and not sort of say to yourself, well, this is all too hard, and throw your hands in the air and slam the door. That's not the answer, because Saturn will come back stronger, and he won't necessarily allow Neptune to bring in the creative solutions because you haven't learned to be disciplined. So it's really important. So if you're a fire sign, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, or the opposite sign of Libra, be aware of this energy. Don't necessarily be stubborn about it. Work with the energy and say, right, this is where I'm going. So that's where we're going to leave the astrology section for this week. We're going to talk with Katie in White River Junction in Vermont. Are you there, Katie?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, Katie. How can I help you today, sweetie? Do you have a question for me?
Sure. I am kind of in a new place in my life, I guess, and just wondering if you
Mm-hmm.
had any advice to make the transition a little easier.
Okay, all right. Look, the first thing that they're showing me, yes, you're definitely in a new place, but they're also showing me that there's still some slight adjustments that need to be made with this. I'm not necessarily saying complete endings or closing the door on something. I'm saying let's wiggle it around a little bit and sort of adjust it so that it feels like it fits. It's interesting because a part of you is saying, oh, look, I'm a brand new Katie and here I am and look at me and I'm so clever and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Then another part of you says, oh my God, am I really doing the right thing? Have I overstepped? Have I done this? Have I done that? Look, that's okay. You don't have to be one or the other. We can be all different parts of Katie that make up the whole. They are showing me, though,
Mm.
that there's a little bit of trepidation with stepping out a little bit. Are you finding it a little bit
Yeah,
uncomfortable to sort of try and bring in some new areas to your life, new things? Like,
very. Yes.
yeah. And that's the part that I want to say, look, yeah, we've got to push you a little bit, but I don't want to push you to the point that you're so super uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? Let's set some goals that are small, some that are sort of manageable. You know, if you've moved to a new place and you want to make some new friends, let's sort of put a plan of attack together. Okay, what are my interests? What am I interested in? Let's just use 10-pin bowling as an example. Well, I'm interested in 10-pin bowling. Okay, then we look for what opportunities there are in the local area to get involved in that, to maybe join something that, you know, you go bowling once a week on a Wednesday and things like that. And that will slowly open up a new circle of friends as you're bowling with people that you've never met before, but you've got something in common. Then in a couple of months' time, we add something else to the regime and whatever, because I think it's going to be a slow process. But I think as you take that first step, Katie, the rest of it will start to become easier because we've already taken that initial giant leap forward. And that, I think, is the hard part. Why do I feel there was a lot of tears that you left behind? Is that true? What you walked away from? It was sort of like there was a lot of tears, there was a lot of sadness there. And it's like, I want to say, that's okay. We can still acknowledge that, but we don't necessarily have to bring it forward with us, if that makes sense.
Yep. Very much.
Yeah. And it's not
And I
saying we're
think
not
that's the hard
acknowledging it.
part
Hmm. What, the tears?
is like, yeah, well, not only that, but having it not tarnish the steps ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do know what you mean. But what they were showing me is yes, we can acknowledge the tears, we can acknowledge the sadness, and we can still own it and we can still have some, but we don't necessarily need to let it be define who you are now. Do you know what I mean? If the tears come and you feel sad, go and have a cry, wash your face, and then put your best foot forward and let's go again. You know, like, I don't think there needs to be either one or the other. I think we've just got to go with the flow of what's sort of actually happening. Most people tend to try and prevent tears or tend to prevent unhappiness in any way. I think, oh, no, 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 I've got to get over that. I've got to, draw a line under it and move forward. But what we actually do is we lock it up. And at some stage or another, it's got to come
Yeah.
out. So you're actually better off going with it when it's naturally happening, because it is our part of healing that we don't accept as a society. You know, when I was widowed when I was very young, and I did a lot of research into things like that. One of the things that I found in some of the European countries, they gave themselves 12 months to mourn. Like they had a black outfit on or a black
Mm,
armband or whatever. For the 12 months, they were legally allowed to cry at the drop of a hat, yell, scream, jump up and down, do whatever they needed to do to get it out of their system. And once the 12-month anniversary came, they then put colour back into their life. And I thought, what a wonderful way of allowing yourself to grieve. And, we could apply the same principle to an end of a marriage or, the loss of a job or whatever, giving ourselves a certain period of time that we are allowed to experience that emotion and work through the emotions without feeling guilty. And I think that's what you need to do. You need to put a time frame on this, that you are allowed to spontaneously burst into tears if that's what needs to be, or get angry, or, you know, throw something in the bin,
yeah.
whatever it might be, and then sort of say, okay, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, that's entirely up to you what you put on it. But each day you will get a little bit stronger. And I can assure you, this new life that you've got is going to unfold in ways that you couldn't begin to imagine. 12 months from now, you're going to be wondering why we were having this conversation, because your whole life will have blossomed. And that's good. That's what we want to
I
see.
love
So
that.
you've made the right decision.
Yeah.
You
Eh,
just got to forgive yourself and let yourself be a human being. Allow yourself to feel those emotions. And it's one of the things we're just not taught. We're all taught, oh, put a stiff upper lip and, stop crying, it's not that bad, all those sort of things. But they're things that we're conditioned from children and we carry into our adult life. And instead of saying it's okay to cry because you've hurt yourself or somebody's hurt you, but you give it a time limit, and then you start to rebuild, and that's what you're doing. You're actually further ahead than what you realize.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. That makes so much sense because I find that I'm a very sensitive person. And instead of
Mm,
just shoving everything down, trying to let it just out and, you know, and then move on
mhm,
and just like adjusting to the world that way, which they're
mhm.
not a lot of people are used to, like you say.
No, no, and I think it's just life is so busy and people, yeah, 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 like I appreciate what you're going through, but they don't really. They haven't absorbed it. They haven't really heard what you've said. They've given you lip service because they're so absorbed in what's going on in their own world, unfortunately. And it's just the way things are. Everything's just moving at such a frantic pace. But if you can sort of, cast your mind back, set a time frame, allow yourself to be sad or have the tears or whatever, and you'll find that those things will happen less and less because you'll start to find a comfortable place to put it. And grief doesn't just happen because we lose somebody through death. Grief is the loss of a marriage, or the loss of a job, or we had to sell the house. I mean, grief comes in many packages. It's not just death. It's the change that's in our lives, and we don't allow ourselves the time to process that change. And it took me a long time to be able to learn to do that in different areas. And once you can start to do that, you feel a tremendous sense of peace, a peace like you've never known before, that things then aren't quite as daunting. But I know you're on the right track, so that's where we're going to leave it now. Katie, I'm glad we've been able to be such help. We're going to talk with Carol now in Indiana. Are you there, Carol? Hello, Carol. Oh, looks like we've lost Carol. That's a bit of a shame. I was looking forward to speaking with Carol. So, Carol, if you can hear me, I don't know, we've lost the connection there with Carol, but
Can
look,
you hear me?
Carol,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can now, sweetie. Did you have
Hello?
a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
Yeah. In general, is life going to get better? That's
Is your
about
life
it.
going to get better? Well, that's a very good question to ask, Carol. It's interesting because the first thing that they're showing me is that you seem to be a little bit, not so much fearful, but a little bit unsure of your next steps. Is that part of how you're feeling at the moment? You want to bring change into your life, but it's like, oh, which way do I go? What do I do? Am I making the right choices? And it's like, then I do nothing.
Right, right. I work hard and I come home. I just cook and clean, and I do.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm going through the motions, but I know there's
Hmm.
more of a purpose for me. I do. I believe I'm a light worker, and I'm here to uplift
Hmm.
the people I work with and around me. And I have a fulfilling life in general. I am very fulfilled and blessed. and everything. It's just that there's just a couple emotional, and I'm in menopause right now. It's
Mhm.
102 degrees out. My air conditioning in my car broke. I could go on with
Mhm.
just little problems here and there. I get something
Yeah,
fixed
and
and then
all
something
those
else
sort of
breaks.
things are compounding at the moment, aren't they, Carol? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
people don't sort of quite understand when one thing starts to not function properly, and then it rolls on and other things add to the list, and it becomes then a mammoth problem. Look, it's really interesting that you were talking about that you're very settled with your life, even though your life is very busy. But at the same time, I felt there was an emptiness there. There was something there that I wanted to fill up. It was like I wanted to get a jug of water and fill you up and sort of make you even more complete. um, there will be some changes over the next few months. I mean, look, I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to talk about menopause. It's a very personal journey. For every woman has to find what's right for them to navigate through that stage of their life. But what I'm sort of seeing is over the next 3 or 4 months, Carol, your psychic ability or your intuition is going to really, really heighten. And I want you to sort of just go with it. I don't want you to sort of stop and think, oh, gee, I don't know whether I'm ready for this responsibility or this power. When you get flashes about things about people that you might work with or people that you're close to, it's not always your responsibility. Do you have to share that information with them? Unless somebody asks directly and says to you, what do you think of this? I would then not necessarily share with them what the flashes are that you're getting or the information that you're getting, because it's not necessarily for you to open the door to their life unless they're ready. So I think if you can work with the intuition, if you can work with the energy and sort of understand that you're being guided, you're being shown what you need to be doing for you, and that this is just showing you that there's lots of information, there's going to be lots of psychic flashes that are going to come, but you don't necessarily have to go and share that with the person unless they particularly ask. It's showing you proof of things, and it's like, oh gee, I knew that before you did 3 weeks ago. Well, that's just the proof that you're looking for, that you're on the right track. But there's certainly some massive changes coming up this year for you. I feel you're going to be a very different person by the time we get to the end of the year, and you'll go into 2026 with great gusto and saying, well, I'm on a new path and I'm feeling really excited and really comfortable. So that's where we're going to leave Carol in Indiana now. We've come to the end of the show. I hope that the readings that we've been able to perform here today on the show might have given you some insight into your personal life. Quite often it's not just the person we're working with on the show, but it has a ripple effect. It goes out to many other people, and answers are for them as well. So it's interesting the way the psychic stuff works. It's not just for that individual person. We can all take a little message or a little bit of inspiration out of everything that might have been shared with someone else. So this week I want to leave you with a really beautiful song, and it's not necessarily a love song. It is in a roundabout sort of way, but I sort of look at it more as a psychic song in a sense. And it's by the Righteous Brothers, and it's You're My Soul and My Highest Inspiration. And we meet people throughout our lives that fit that sort of bill, that they touch our soul, they can inspire us, they can make us be a better person. And whether that's through love or whether it's just through friendship or a connection there. But I think it's one of the most beautiful songs that have been written, that you are my soul and my highest inspiration. So until next week, I'm going to leave that beautiful song with you. I hope you enjoy your week and be kind to each other. A smile costs nothing, and to be polite and kind to somebody might just be the one little thing that's going to make their day. That they might have been having a tough day too, and you just giving them a little smile and asking them how they are will mean the world. So until next week, bye for now.